basically you can see where she's coming from and why she's acting the way she is, because like she has a new person in her life, she doesn't know how to respond to it. It's very uncomfortable for her, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. So you can understand why she kind of like try to tighten the noose a little bit and try to like maintain the order in a way. And that was very clear. Unfortunately, sometimes it's hard to sympathize with that particular character, but otherwise, yeah. So, I guess going back to the affair thing and why it bothered me so much is like there has to be a better, non-cliched way to accomplish the same thing. Like, that's really what it comes down to, because, like, up to that point in the movie, like I loved it. Like, there was some drama in there, but it wasn't too overdramatic, it wasn't too in-your-face, it wasn't too angsty or any of that crap. It felt like a real family dealing with real issues. And I loved that. But after that, like, that's when it started getting a little overdramatic at times. Like the daughter, for example, has issues with depression from what she feels like are over-controlling parents. And, which is fine, yeah, great, explore that. But there's one point in the movie, like, towards the very end, where, like, she gets drunk after coming back from, like, one of the stupid teeny bopper parties, and, she like, starts screaming at her, like, you go off be like a happy lesbian couple or something like that, and then she slams the door, like, where did that come from? Like, the repression I can understand, but where'd the whole, like, trying to appear as, like, the perfect couple thing come from? Like, I don't get that. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere. And that really bothered me. It was only one scene, though, so I'm not gonna harp on it too much. But it's like, I was so disappointed. Like, it was such a great start to fall into this trap. And I felt like it could have done something better, in my opinion. Because we've seen the affair subplot. It's been done hundreds of times, and as soon as you see it, you know how it's gonna go. And I just thought it could have done something better. Like, what's a good example of a movie that didn't really fall to The Descendants with George Clooney. Great movie, but and it was great because it didn't really fall into these cliches, at least none that I recognized. It was just a broken family, basically dealing with having to watch one of their loved ones die. Yeah, it's depressing, I know. But it didn't really fall into many cliches. I mean, I guess they didn't fall into any, but I can't really think of any off the top of my head. But it dealt with those issues, dealt with those human emotions, and it never really resolved, and like never got into like huge screaming fits at each other. Like, they never really scream at each other throughout that entire movie. Yeah, they never do, actually, when I think about it now. Maybe a little bit in the beginning, but even that's not that bad. It's like, they're just so well paced, though. And, I don't want to go too much I don't want to talk about The Descendants, but too much. I will say that movie has, in my opinion, like, one of the most perfect endings I've seen in movies. So simple, and yet it says so much. And I love that movie, obviously, because I'm going on about it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Yeah, so it's like, and you do like these characters. Like, you do really, like, for the first hour, you really do enjoy these characters. Like, you enjoy seeing them evolve, you enjoy seeing them grow, and, like, it feels like almost all that just comes to a screeching halt. Like, when the affair is exposed, and you know it's going to be exposed. And when it does, it's just like everyone kind of regresses, which I guess it's understandable. Like any family like exposed to that is gonna be fucked up. I mean, there's no point avoiding that. But it's like, I don't know. I just felt like it could have been done better, in my opinion, because like the laser kid, like has a great little moment where like you see him hanging out with like a really big douchebag friend, and I was really gonna harp on this movie for kind of like stereotyping. Because he's one of the stupid ass skater boy stoner kids that's always doing stupid shit because he thinks it's hilarious. And I would have harped on this if I didn't know people like this. And people act like this, and they are real, unfortunately. For every stereotype, there's almost always one example. but he's like one of those friends. We've probably all had this friend at least once. One of those really controlling friends that is your friend until you won't do something he tells you to, and then immediately just turns on you like in a second. It's like, the biggest douchebag friends. And I put up with that shit too. I had that friend for a while. And yeah, like I really liked how like they eventually confronted that. I like how they dealt with that. I like how you see that character, that particular, grow in that kind of way. Like in that first hour, like another reason I love the first half of this movie. I know I'm giving it praise and fault, but anyway, back to what I was saying. Is not only they learn off each other, and that's really big. Like, Paul's learning from the kids, and they're learning from Paul, and, like, you can see that clear dynamic, and you can see how they're learning off each other. And really, again, nobody's perfect in this film. Everyone has flaws. And it's questionable whether Paul really should be giving advice on things when basically he has never been in their life up to this point and probably doesn't understand it fully. But he still does, and it does have an effect on the people, and on the kids and stuff like that, and that's great. I love seeing that. I can't think of too much else to say about this movie. Aside from, despite all my complaints, I did love it. Unfortunately, the affair stuff does kind of duck it down from my initial praise, but I still really enjoyed it. I still think it's definitely worth checking out. One good thing that the affair storyline brings up to is there's this great speech towards like the very end of the film, like where Julie, I may be getting these names wrong, forgive me if I do. Basically, after the whole family's pissed off at her for good reason, for having an affair with Paul, she basically goes up there and just like when they're all sitting in front of the TV, turns the TV off. Like, look, marriage is fucking hard. It's like, and sometimes you make mistakes while making it. It's like, okay, that's a good moral. Like, I can get behind that. And it's almost worth it just to get to that point. And it's like I just wish it didn't fall into some of those traps. I was really hoping they would avoid doing the really angry confrontation scene, like after she discovers the affair. And at first they don't. Like, I thought she was like a very mature approach. And obviously, whenever you find someone's having an affair with you, you're gonna be devastated. There's no point avoiding that. But we've seen this scene over and over where they confront each other, one starts crying, or both start crying, and one starts screaming at the other, it's like, don't blame me, blame blah, 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 blah. And every movie's, like, a lot of movies have done this. Even The Descendants did this a little bit. Even though I thought that was done better. And, yeah, it sucks. Absolutely. Not minimizing. But it just, I've seen this before. Like, that's my thing. And then there's this whole subline with, like, the daughter and, like, her Hispanic friend-zoned man friend. And that doesn't really go anywhere. Like, I don't really know what the point of that was. So, yeah, I guess, it is a good movie, and you should definitely check it out. Not perfect, as I'm sure you've gathered from my long rant here. And oh my crap, it's been like almost 20 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up because I've probably been going on way longer than I should have. And, yeah, not a big fan of affair subplots, unless it's... I don't want to say never do affair subplots, but it does have to be done exceptionally well. Like, really need to do something different with it. Because unfortunately, we live in a day and age in Hollywood where pretty much every idea has been done. So it's like, if you're gonna do it, you either gotta do it really well or doing something in a way that's a breath of fresh air. I mean, we have a fucking Battleship movie coming out. You know you're out of fucking ideas. No, that's not true. We have Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Which, much to my shame, actually looks kind of awesome in a, mindless... You have to try to fuck that up. That's pretty much what I got out of it. It's Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It's like, you have to try to make that at least not a little bit awesome. Anyway, I can't wait for the sequel, George Washington Demon Hunter. I'm getting way off track now. I'm gonna stop. Yeah, so the kids are all right. Very good movie. I highly recommend it. Keep in mind there are flaws. Yeah, that's about it. Check it out later. Okay, I lied. We're not done. I just remembered something that is kind of important to know because I made a mistake, and oddly enough, it ties in better to what I was saying before. Go figure. I was talking about The Descendants earlier, the George Clooney movie, as I'm sure you remember. And I mentioned that it didn't really necessarily fall into the affair pit trap. That's actually not true. And, they're actually, if you haven't seen the movie, again, don't listen to me anymore. There actually is an affair early on in the movie where it turns out the wife that went to the coma actually had an affair with George Clooney's character. And that's kind of the focal point. It's focal point for a good majority of the movie. And I guess why I didn't really notice, I kind of forgot about that major thing at the moment, is because it does do that in a very different way that you don't really see very often. It was different from the cliche that was done in this movie. Like, there was no angry confrontation between, like, him and his wife, because you can't have that. She's in a coma. She can't listen anymore. So, like, that just basically leaves George Clooney left with, like, this angry, confused state of feeling betrayed at the same time he has to get over that because his wife doesn't have much longer. And that is a very different take on it, and that makes it interesting. It doesn't rely on cliches. It takes something that has been done many times in movies and takes its own spin on it, and it really works and makes it really powerful. And again, feels real. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, you can use these old ideas, but you need to do them in a way that's interesting, that's new, that not necessarily new, but done in a way where it doesn't feel like I've seen this exact same scenario before. It's like, I guess kind of new. It's kind of saying the same thing. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's like, you gotta avoid being redundant, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. Like, you can't regurgitate something that in the exact same way another movie has done. I'll like, not just one movie, 1,000 other movies have done. And I guess that's a really separate, I'm not making any sense here, am I? Yeah, but that's really kind of the big difference, was like Descendants, it did go to the affair route, but it really took it in a different direction. With it in a way that was new and that was something I haven't seen before, and it was very well done. This movie, on the other hand, unfortunately did not really do that. It felt like I've seen this exact same thing before 100 times in hundreds of TV shows and movies and all that stuff. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. And just on a side note, I'm really liking Mark Ruffalo as an actor. Like, I haven't seen any of his work up to this point, but like before I saw Avengers, and like right after seeing that one, I saw this movie, and it's like I think he's actually a pretty damn good actor. I'm honestly kind of curious to see what else he's done. Probably more than a few romantic comedies, but anyway, just want to make that correction real quick. Now I'm gonna officially leave you before I go talk some more and probably annoy the shit out of you. So, goodbye for real this time.